How about that? It is possible to be stealth again. Welcome to my channel. My name is Scott, and I recently had the car detailed, and I want to talk about the paint condition. You might recall that my car is ceramic coated, and as part of the lifetime warranty, I take it in once a year for a little bit of reconditioning and reapplication of the coat. And so, as you can see, all of the antennas are stripped off the car, the rack, everything. So let's take a look at the paint. So I chose an overcast day because that makes for really good lighting and no harsh effects. As I walked toward the car, I thought I might have saw a little dent there, but I'll have to probably look at this again under brighter sun. But there is damage from the roof rack. I don't know how well you can see that. It's paint damage, not metal damage, and so it's just kind of brown and stained. This will show up a lot better under bright light, so I will shoot this again and overlay it so that you can see it. And then, much to my surprise, the suction cups left some marks on the paint, and they weren't really on there very long. Oh, look, from this angle I can see some stains pretty good there. It's just these brown stains from the they're just kind of worn into the paint. It's the kind of stuff that makes my detailer cry, because the paint is beautiful, it's in very good shape, but it is stained from my decision to leave the roof rack on the car full time. Now, keep in mind that this car is 6 years old and has 179,000 miles on it. So for what it is, I think it's in fantastic shape. So you might recall that I have paint protective film, or PPF, on the car, and this has been holding up pretty well. Now, this was all on here before the days of the self-healing film, and so he's going to replace it with some self-healing film. And so it is my hope that all of these little bits where there's a chip there and a chip there, that does not go through to the paint. And if it doesn't, then that means that this film has done its job. I mean, sure, you can see the evidence, but if the paint is unharmed, like that one there probably does go through the paint. So that was, a lot of these were really, really hard hits. In fact, this one, you might recall from an older video, that this one was such a hard hit that it dented the hood, but I don't think it went through the paint. I'll have to show you again at some point once I get this refinished. But I had a paintless dent wizard pull the dent out. I mean, the dent was like this big, no creases or anything, just enough to bend it in a little bit. And then there's areas where the film is starting to sort of peel up at the edges, like right there. And you know, I guess that's going to happen, especially over the course of many miles and time. As I look right in here, let me put my finger right there, I see a dent right there. I don't know what caused it, but things like that kind of happen. Maybe a little bit of hail. And here's another look at gosh, I wonder if you can see that. In this point right here, you can see the paint damage so well that you can see the polka dots from the landing pads. And so that's just, you know, it's something that I can live with. It's not, I'm not going to die over it. This is not necessarily the thing that makes a show car, but I still do show the car. The good news, is it good news? Is it good news or is it bad news? Is I will just continue to show the car with the rack on it. And so if I put the rack on the car, then none of this stuff is visible. That became my philosophy when I first noticed any paint damage from the rack, because I'm not going to stop using the rack or stop exploiting the utility of this car. I'm just going to keep on using it. This might be one of the most used GTIs on the road. Let's see if I can get in there and get that one. So here's the other staining from the roof rack, and I can't quite see the stains from the suction cup. I want to say it's right here. It's one of those things that once you see it, you can't unsee it. And again, I will show this to you in brighter light. All right, this just might be the cleanest my interior has been in a very long time. I have removed everything from the car so that my detailer would have plenty of room to work and clean without risking damage to any of my equipment. And so the only things not removed are the semi-permanent things. Like there are the microphone holders. They are glued to the door with goop. And then the same with this bracket here. This is glued into place so that it's not going to come off from the weight of having two radio faces mounted there. And you can see there how I run my cables through the ventilation. It tucks the cables very well. There is the microphone ports where I plug in the microphones. And then off over here, you can see some ProClip USA mounts. This is how I mount the other items to the dash. And so they're, of course, it's not just one ProClip USA mount. It is the mount with a bunch of stuff on it. And I also have this mount up here that's glued into place. That's where I put either my phone or a tablet. And then this thing here, it's a 12-volt power port with USB on it. That's plugged directly into the battery that's under where the back seat used to be. That's glued into place, so that's not coming out either. So so there you go. That's the interior. And then, of course, in the very back, I have my refrigerator. That was not there while it was at the detailer, but it's there now because I always have the refrigerator. In fact, I just got back from the grocery store, so I got to run home and get that put away before I get rained on. And then of course the rack is still back here. The rack, I removed, what I did is I removed an antenna from each side, so you can see one of the antenna mounts right there. So, and then I could just fling the antenna mount into the back here, and then the racks then slid in place. And so one side of the rack is still attached to the car with the RF cables. I didn't want to unfeed all of my cables, what a hassle. So yeah, that's where the rack is until I can put it back on. There are my clips for routing the RF cables, and so they're still there. They're glued into place. I can get them off pretty easily though without leaving any paint stains. But yeah, that's how those run. It's the same configuration on both sides, since I have 4 antennas on the roof rack. Back at home with all the birds, I almost forgot to identify these scratches here. So this here is a layer of PPF, and then somehow right here, I'm not quite sure what caused this scratch. I wonder if I had washed the car and then a little rock got cut up underneath the rag or something. I don't know. That there's where something got dropped, I think. I don't know what. Maybe. Well, certainly all these scratches will go away when this piece of PPF is replaced. The scratch, I'm not sure about. And then this here, I think that came from a time when I had picked up a load of gravel in my trailer, and when the front loader dumped it, one of the rock pieces skipped out and hit it right there. I think that's what that's from. I have one up on the roof as well. That's a new scratch. I don't know where that came from. There's the scratch from the rock chip, maybe a rock chip. All right, comment below. Tell me if you think I'm out of my flipping mind for abusing this car the way I do. I am using it the utility aspect of a hatchback. Yes, it's a GTI, and a lot of GTI purists are probably disappointed in the way I use the car and abuse it, towing trailers and whatnot. But I wanted a small utility vehicle with power. That's tough to find. So the GTI it is. I got what I want. Utility of a hatchback, power, and it's a good looking car, even with the stains on the roof. I'll just put the rack back on and cover those stains up. Let's see, next up, refrigerator video. I have a fridge in the car right now. I just did some grocery shopping, and I'm gonna try to get home before I get rained on. So it never ends with my utility here. Comment below, and as always, I appreciate you being here. I'll see you next time. Take care.